All right. Hello, hello. Good evening, and welcome to our Thursday night webinar with the Parent Academy. Thank you for joining us. And again, we are excited to have you as audience, listeners, and participants. I am Tina Folston Hayes, the Parent Academy Specialist for Education and Equity and Outreach for the Alachua County Public Schools. And we want to welcome you this evening. Tonight, we're going to receive some helpful information from Ms. Patrice Crooms, and she's going to share with us how to maximize your child's confidence and performance in the classroom for our Alachua County Public School students. And so just before we get started, let's review some housekeeping elements. Please keep your microphones on mute through the duration of the presentation. We will be monitoring your questions and responding accordingly. Please use the Q&A feature located at the bottom of the webinar window. And please note that the Parent Academy's webinar is closed captioned and recorded and posted to our website to access for a later date or re-review for any individuals that could not join us on the live tonight. Your questions will be answered at the conclusion of each session. If there are any specific needs that you may have or personal conversations, the Parent Academy's email address is parentacademy@gm.sbac.edu. And we'll get to those questions and your requests for additional information forwarded to the correct Alachua County Public School personnel or community team member. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Ms. Patrice again. Hello.
Yes, hello, good evening. Happy Thursday, aka Happy Friday, Junior. Thanks for
Yes,
having
ma'am.
me. Yes.
You are very welcome. Thank you for joining us again.
Yes, pleasure is all mine. So, as Mrs. Folston Hayes mentioned, we're going to talk tonight about ways to maximize your child's confidence and performance inside and outside of the classroom. I'm going to stop my camera. You'll still be able to hear me. It's doing some glitching tonight, so I'll have my picture up and I'll try it a little bit later to bring my face on. So, but you can see me here in my thumbnail. So again, welcome, welcome, welcome. As mentioned, my name is Patrice Crooms. I am the CEO and the lead college and career coach of PC Virtual Tutoring and Educational Solutions. So welcome tonight. Hope you have some pen and paper to grab these gems, grab a snack and relax and just join in. Again, I like to say this is not a one size fit all type of presentation. So grab what you think would be helpful for you and your children, tweak it, make it creative, make it fun. It's going to be a great time tonight just talking about these strategies and maximizing confidence and student success in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So again, my name is Patrice Crooms. Just a little bit about myself before I dive into tonight's information. I was born in Gainesville, Florida. My mom is from Gainesville and she went into labor with me visiting family. I was raised in Duval County, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. As mentioned, I am the CEO and founder of PC Virtual Tutoring. I am a product of public schools in the Jacksonville, Florida area. We'll have to give a shout out to my elementary school, Good Shepherd Christian Academy, and went on to Florida A&M, received my bachelor's of marketing and business administration from the University of Central Florida. I have a master's in educational leadership from the University of Phoenix. I'm a mompreneur, so I have a teenager, so I sit in the same space with many of you all having a student in the public school system. I'm also a certified global career coach and facilitator. And one of my last roles before going into the classroom and then business was a career coach and assistant director at the University of Florida in the Career Center. So just a fun fact about myself, I like to make it light and give you some airy things and also some kind of serious deets about myself. I had the opportunity, Super Bowl 39, to be a part of the field show with Paul McCartney as the headliner. So with the Super Bowl coming up this Sunday, this is a cool fact to share. So my mom's dance studio, we got to be a part out there in the light singing Hey Jude, super cool experience. And my 10-word story, I am determined to positively impact the world through education. So that's just a little bit about myself. But tonight is about you and your students and ways, again, to maximize their confidence. I know sometimes they may hit some roadblocks and obstacles. And as a parent, you're like, OMG, I'm feeling kind of, helpless. And how can I help my student to recover and to be able to persevere forward? So 3 words I want you to remember or jot down or take a picture of it for our webinar tonight that you're going to hear consistently throughout the presentation is just good application in regards to building success and confidence with our students. So those 3 words are proactive, intentional, and consistent. I'm not sure how many sports fans I have out there, but in basketball, we do a pick play where you set a pick to get the ball and throw the other team off. So I like to call this our pick play for success in education. Again, those 3 words are proactive, intentional, and consistent. So tonight's agenda is going to be focused around 3 tenets: effective parent communication strategies, and this is communication with your child's teacher, with the administration, the school, then ways for your child to advocate for themselves, for their learning needs, so they can have a voice in their goals and owning their learning goals, and then goal setting. So this is a team effort between yourself and your child. So I like to call this segment Teamwork Makes the Dream Work. So we'll hit on some different strategies in that element towards the end. All right. So effective communication strategies. Again, one of those words in our pick play for success was proactive. So I know we are, it's 180 days in school. We're past 100 days. I got to see many of the kids on social media or pictures that were sent to me from my tutoring families of kids dressing up for the 100th day. So I know this particular slide talks about effective communication from day one. And this is something to carry with you into further school years, but don't feel like, oh, I'm too late or too far behind the 8 ball to be able to do these types of things. So if what I'm getting ready to give out now, it doesn't have to just be applicable to day one. It's never too late. You can dive into the process now if you're looking for ways to build that effective communication. So one is to introduce yourself to your child's school counselor, the team of teachers, because most of them elementary, they may have 1 teacher or 1 to 2 teachers once they get in 4th and 5th grade. Middle and high school, they normally have a team of teachers, 6, anywhere up to 8 teachers based on block scheduling. And then the administrators. Okay, so again, we want our students to have a voice. We want, just behind those names and those blue cards that you submit with important information, we want you as parents to have a voice in the face. So a good way, again, from the beginning of the school year is attend the Meet the Teacher or orientation. This is a great opportunity to introduce yourself and your child to the ecosystem, the teacher, school counselors, and admin on campus. I say after that, follow up with a detailed email. And I'm going to give you some examples because I never just like to say, hey, do this, and then don't give you some samples of things that you can use because I'm all about working smart. Again, feel free to tweak any of these strategies and tools that I share tonight. But follow up with the detailed email and request a team conference. And you're probably thinking, now the title says from day one. So what are we conferencing about? And school just started. Why do you do this? This is an opportunity to set a positive and proactive tone. So yes, nothing has gone on. The year has barely started. So grades haven't accumulated. They're probably still just getting to learn all the students' name, but this is a way just to hit the ground running in a very proactive manner. It can also help to provide helpful insight about your child to the teacher that may not be noted in their cumulative folder. There's, again, certain things that our children may encounter in life socially and emotionally that may be helpful and that is impactful in their learning process. And sometimes just getting champions on campus through their teachers and counselors and admin is a great way to just embody and embrace their school experience for them, again, to feel confident, to feel supported, and to be successful. It starts an open line of communication. It builds rapport, and it personalized that teacher, student, parent relationship. Because again, all of these individuals, all of us, we're a part of that ecosystem to make sure our children are successful and feeling confident. So again, teamwork makes the dream work. So as noted in the last slide, this is a sample email. I won't read it verbatim to you, but it gives you some insight on what you can say to introduce yourself, to go ahead and set that proactive premise from the beginning, to request that team, or maybe some schools do one-on-one conferencing. But many of times when you inquire about meeting the teachers as a team so that collectively they can get to know you and your expectations. What's your expectations for your child? You can get to know theirs outside of just the syllabi. And then this is an opportunity to really open that line of communication to let them know how they can contact you and what's expected. Again, the entire ecosystem is what really helps in embracing our students and helping them to feel confident and them having a great experience and ultimately garnering success. So I'll leave this up for a few more seconds. Again, feel free to take a screenshot of it. And after this presentation, this will be available for you to have a copy of it. Okay, so how and why to check in periodically? We want to start strong and we want to finish the year strong. And then everything in between, we want to make sure that we're maintaining, so that in order to start strong and finish strong, we have to look at all components of the school year. So a big way to do that in this 21st century, we don't have to wait for progress reports to only come home in our child's folders, or we're digging through the bottom of them, or they're looking for them and might have left them at after school. We don't have to wait for report cards to be sent in the mail. Now we have electronic capabilities. And I don't know about you, but Skyward and Canvas are my best friends. So I try to turn them off sometimes because I don't want to feel like I'm just stalking them all day. But I do recommend at least checking your child. First of all, making an account. You can download the app on your phone, or if you prefer to look at it on your computer, you can make sure to reach out to your child's school to get a parent account, and check it 2 to 3 times per week. So typically what I do, because just like you, we're all busy with things that we have to do in our jobs and our personal lives and taking care of our children, is to set an alarm. I made sure to turn my alarms off last time they were going all off. So for everything I have to do in running the business and being a mom, my alarms really keep me on task. So at least 2 to 3 times per week. And then in a little bit, we're going to talk about how to incorporate your child into this process. But on Skyward, you're able to look at your child's grades, you're able to keep track of their attendance, you're able to keep track of their behavior, of their testing history. So when it comes to state standardized testing, as they get in high school and start to take SAT, PSAT, ACT, you'll even see those national testing grades. So again, you're able to keep them on track in regards to staying on top of credits and things for graduation, as well as their post-secondary goals. Again, in that prior email is an opportunity to discover what is the best method of communication with your teacher. I know in elementary and a lot of schools, Dojo is super popular. Does your teacher prefer email or phone, or other mediums that may be out here? There's a lot of apps. So the best way to just open up that line of communication proactively is in that opening email to ask, what's the best way to communicate with you about my child's performance, in ways that you can also encourage them, but also hold them accountable. So what if your student grades start to decline? I know sometimes parents ask, because I do a lot of parent coaching throughout the week as well, should I wait until progress reports or report cards are released? Definitely not. Okay, if we go back up to bullet 1, that's why the recommendation of checking Skyward 2 to 3 times per week is super helpful, because before they make a big drop, we can jump in proactively to ask the teacher or empower your student to child to go in and talk to their teacher. What are some ways that I can recover my grade? Or do you offer tutoring? Are there different programs so that they're not finding themselves having to dig out a deep hole and then feeling overwhelmed and feeling defeated? So remember, one of our pick words is to be proactive. Okay, so we want to make sure to take that proactive approach, and you don't have to wait to a major grading period to do so. If you see that child grade starting to, and it's based on your preference. Okay, so whether it's a 1% decline or it's a 10% decline, if whatever is acceptable for your household, you want to jump in and communicate with that teacher to figure out ways to help your students and help the teacher help your student to get on track, is definitely recommended. But let's just say maybe, the 9 weeks or the halfway mid mark got away from us, then reach out to that teacher to ask about interventions. What are great recovery opportunities? And I don't want to just focus on decline, because it's not always that our children are declining. Sometimes they are just really just excelling off the chart. And you're like, oh my goodness, are there opportunities for my student who is doing really well, so that they don't begin to digress? So then you can inquire about enrichment. Do they have project-based opportunities? Can they be tested, evaluated for gifted programs? In addition, as you all may know, we've matriculated away from FSA. So if you have an 11th or 12th grader, they're still able to sit for that assessment to meet graduation requirements. But this year, with the new best standards, we moved into fast testing for our students. And so not only just checking that portal, as I mentioned, for grades and attendance and behavior and things of that sort, also looking at it to track the testing PMAs. Okay, so with the progress monitoring with the fast test, they're assessed 3 times a year versus waiting to the summer or sometimes the next school year to get those students' state standardized scores back. This has been an ultimate tool. Don't panic. I know I got a lot of panics and phone calls and emails after PMA 1 at the beginning of the school year. Remember, then they were being tested on what they're expected to know by the end of the year. Okay, so I love the sense of urgency. I want, my parents and my students to ask questions and how can I do better? How can I be better? What can I intentionally, one of our pick words, focus on to work on consistently each week? Because the goal is to see progress on PMA 2 and definitely by PMA 3 at the end of the year. So checking that grade portal, and the state even have a parent portal with testing now, that after the testing window closes, within 2 weeks, your child's scores will be there. Okay, that is just super helpful to help be intentional when planning parent-teacher conversations and having conferences to talk about what are areas that your child is strong in, what are areas that they can use some extra intervention or focus. And so that's a whole nother training that I could do about how to disaggregate and look at the data and interpret the actual assessment data after the students finish. But they have done a really good job this year of breaking it down. So ask more questions. If you want more details, if the report that you were given only shows a score and what level they're on from a level 1 to a level 5, but then you want to help them, or you may want to get them a tutor, or ask if the school have after school tutoring or remediation, what's going to be most helpful is to be intentional on what particular areas do they need help. So those are questions that, again, can guide that parent-teacher conference to say, hey, I saw the test report here. I see the numerical score, but is my child, do they need help in informational text? Do they need help in poetry and prose? Okay, and this makes you empowered. So as we build your confidence and empowerment, parents, ultimately that's going to matriculate down to our students. And then too, they know mom and dad, grandma, our parents, guardians, they're watching. So we have to be on top of things. But more so than that, not just that we're just watching them, but that we're being a part of the process and we're teaching them in this how to advocate for themselves and how to be intentional about their day-to-day learning. So again, this to answer questions about whether it would be beneficial for my child to have a tutor. Okay, and when they go to that tutor, now you're able to share those data points to personalize the sessions for remediation and or I never want to leave this out, or enrichment. Okay, because getting extra support is not just if a student is having some struggles, but they may be really excelling and they need a challenge. So enrichment is another part. So inquire. I know Alachua County Public School have the Bell and Beyond program for extra support. You can reach out to private supports like myself or whatever works for your student, or I say engage in it all if that works. Okay, but my motto is less is more. We don't want to overwhelm our students, but we want to make sure that even outside of the school day that they're consistently getting the support they need to be successful, which is going to continue to amplify their confidence. Okay, so once you send out these correspondence, I get this question a lot. Well, I didn't hear back, and sometimes you may want to hear back in 2 hours or 4 hours. Just take a deep breath. We want to give our teachers and our admin and counselors some grace, because sometimes they're reaching out to us and we need that grace because our day is moving on. So let's 24 to 48 hours, okay, or a case by case matter. maybe a little bit more urgent depending on the matter, but give that due diligence and then follow up. Okay, so hey, I just want to check back in, or maybe now you give a phone call, and then be sure to keep documentation of all correspondence. This is just going to be helpful on a lot of levels to just keep track of conversations that are being had, strategies that are being shared, interventions, whether they're given homework every week, so parents, you'll know what to expect to be able to work with your students to hold them accountable, but also while challenging them, being able to support them. Okay, so now is the accountability and advocacy for your child. So setting clear and precise expectations and identifying, noting the school communication protocol is helpful. Every school has a different way. Again, I mentioned some of the apps outside of email and phone, which are more traditional ways, following the protocol and chain of command, and then knowing when to involve the school counselor. So there are certain things that outside of the teacher or in conjunction with the teacher, if you really see that, hey, my student needs some additional support and intervention, I think will really help to boost their confidence and maybe bridge any gaps in their learning, then that's when we want to reach out to the teacher and the school counselor to talk about different programs, such as IEP or 504 plans for accommodations, and or again, if they need that stretch and challenge, being evaluated for gifted or accelerated services. So remember, parents, you have a voice. And I believe in my heart of hearts, as we empower you more and more the confidence and the empowerment of your students are going to happen. And then we're going to be able to work collectively with our teachers and admin and school staff to really change the embodiment and the culture of school, and working together is what really makes everything go round for the success and best outcomes of our students. Okay. And so no, don't just, again, give some grace. Maybe the teacher didn't respond in 2 hours or 30 minutes. But after some time, it may become the point where, hey, yes, I want to involve the school administration. And most times that would be to mediate a matter. Sometimes just to get some clear eyes and ears if you're working through what's the next best next steps for the students. Whether again, it's interventions and or enrichment, and you and the teacher, like, we just feel like we're getting stuck and not moving anywhere. You have the right and you have the voice to request to have school men to be a part of that conversation. Again, not as I got you, or I'm trying to tell on you, or that type of, because again, we want to have a partnership, which allows our students to thrive in the environment as well. But sometimes, you may need to call up a little higher hand to help mediate some of those situations as you're working on these plans of success. Okay. And it's just huge to have a voice and be visible. Again, I understand we all have different levels of responsibility throughout our day. So we may not just be able to be at the school 24/7, but it's super important to have a voice and to be visible. Because when our students, our children see us, they get excited because they don't know when mom or dad or grandma or aunt, uncle is going to come around that corner. So let me always be my best self. But two, it just gives them a sense of pride, and it just makes you feel involved. And when you know something and you feel involved, then again, the experience for everyone is just super pivotal. So these are some different ways that you can have a voice and get involved in the school and the community environment. So volunteering, of course, there's a background check policy right on sbac.edu that you can go through to get approved to volunteer in the class for school events. And maybe you used to be a basketball player or a cheerleader back in the day and you want to volunteer for sports organizations, or you used to run the mile, the morning mile, and so you want to volunteer for that. Also things like PTSA, PTA, or the SAC committee, becoming the homeroom parent, or just inquiring about special programs to get involved. But I definitely, as a part of the plan for success, I know parents, I've been on you these first few slides. We're going to get to how we involve our students. And I talk a lot about too, how bringing our teachers and admin and school staff into the fold. But that's what really make this entire ecosystem and bridging gaps in the learning experience pivotal for our children. Okay, so now we're going to move into giving our students a voice. Okay, so what are some parts or ways that we can help our children to have ownership in their learning? Okay, because again, we can sit back and say, hey, I think you should be doing this, or this is the best way you learn this, and sometimes we need to ask the student who's sitting in the chair, in the desk, that's coming in, to have their voice as a part. And I promise you, you will see light years changes. They will just light up, and now they're excited and they're beating you to the car in the morning. And I can't be late, and I got to get there. And same thing in the classroom for the teacher. Now I want to be the line leader. I want to, now they're excited and confident. So empowering them again with our pick play, proactive, intentional, being consistent. That it's okay to ask questions. Okay, sometimes it's the peer pressure of it all is like, I don't want to seem like I don't know something. Or, I don't want to seem like, I'm the only one. I always tell my students and even my own daughter, like, you're being a champion for someone else in the room, because 9.9 times out of 10, they had a question too. And in their heart of hearts, even if they're not saying it out loud or if they're giggling, they're so happy that you asked the question. Okay, so that's how we help our students and empower them to have a voice. Other opportunities for advocating and having ownership in their learning is identifying their learning style. So there's a lot of learning assessments out there to learn if they're kinesthetic, if they learn by listening, if they learn by hearing, by seeing it or by touching it. And then sometimes it changes over time, and sometimes it's multifaceted. On my website, I have a free resource. And again, it helps to understand how to help your child, but super important, it helps the child to understand how they learn best. Okay. And once we get their confidence soaring, parents, they're going to take over. And now we're not feeling drained at the end of the day. The teacher is not feeling drained at the end of the day. The student is not feeling drained, because we're collectively and proactively looking at what's the best way to enhance our child's learning experience. Have them. So it's not only just on you parents. And many a times the students know how to log into their Skyward, because they're having to log into it to do different programs throughout the day, to do their testing. So have them set up a time or have them set an alarm in their phones, or to use a planner. A planner, I love a good old planner. And today you don't have to just have physical ones, it can digital ones on the phone, and there are different apps where they're writing down their homework. They're writing down upcoming tests. They're writing down their grades and setting goals. And again, it's giving them a voice and teaching them some independency, so that you don't feel like you have to hover all the time while you're trying to do the other 1,000 tasks to make sure your households and everything go around. Having them to speak up if they need preferential seating. And it doesn't have to be, again, a word that you'll see at the top of my presentation is not only the ownership of their learning, but what's a respectful approach in being intentional and proactive. So if they can't see and they're being placed in the back of the room, maybe that's, a flag for they maybe need to get tested for glasses. But sometimes too, just depending on the glare, even with my glasses, I need to sit in a certain spot in the room. So for them to feel confident in raising their hand and asking for, preferential seating, receiving extra help, asking for help from their teacher or their peer buddy, or asking, are there after school opportunities? Okay, you'll be surprised that sometimes we don't give our kiddos as much credit as they deserve. When we give them and pass that torch and that baton for them to have a voice in learning, it's like, oh, why didn't I do this earlier? Because now we're able to facilitate the process versus feeling like we always have to have our hands in every single part, but definitely having those check-in pieces. Have them to ask about ways they can earn extra credit. Or teach them how to send the email or talk to their teacher after instruction. So I've been in the classroom and every teacher has their protocol. Some teachers, they like for you to raise your hand as they're teaching material and come across something they don't know. Some teachers want for you to wait for the lesson to be done and students go into independent work. So again, that's a part in the beginning from day one to learn that teacher style, to let your student know, so that then you can empower them to have a voice. Have them meet with their counselor. I know that's a little touch and go with our younger babies, like elementary, but you'll be surprised. Sometimes as we teach them how to own their learning, then they know, hey, during lunchtime, I can go talk to my counselor about this or questions that they may have. But especially as they get in middle and high school and they start working on credits or thinking about internships or going to college or going into the military, the counselor is a plethora of resources. That was a big part I hit last week. So when you get a chance or when it's posted, definitely go back, and even if you don't have a high schooler, it's proactive opportunity to be proactive to learn different ways to have success throughout the high school years. Have them to ask about enrichment and extracurricular. It's nothing like, having the priority be around the academics, but also just being embraced and just enriched in the fabric of the school and the community through enrichment and extracurricular activities. A lot of times you see just a whole different pride in your child that, again, gets them excited. And they know, if I want to go to cheerleading or step practice or the after school chess club, then I have to make these grades and I have to be in attendance and I have to, follow directions and make sure my card is not getting flipped in elementary or getting referrals. And so all of those pieces help with the experience, but also help them to be well-rounded. So again, things like leadership and volunteering opportunities, have them to go ask the counselor or teacher or admin about them and have them come share it with you. I know some schools, they will do a different extracurricular activity club days. And parents just ask them, what did you do today? Or look on the school website, because most times they'll give you the dates on there. So that sometime, I know with my daughter, even though she's 15, I give her a little nudge. I saw on the website that you're going to have a such and such. And then she's looking like, Mom, how did you know that? And I don't pretend to be on there every single day. But periodically, I definitely try to make it my business, because the more we're involved, the more we get our students to be involved, everyone feels empowered, confidence is skyrocketed, and it really impacts their academic and their social well-being. So parent to child, remind them, we are a team. I have your back. I'm going to be here to support and help facilitate the process. And you can always come to me, but have them be a part of the team to really impact their learning experience, confidence, and success. So I know that was a lot. Let's take a deep breath. Feel free again to take a picture of it or jot down some notes and use what works for you now. And sometimes learning is fluid, and our children, life is not vertical. So some things may be more applicable now, some things may be more applicable down the line. So we just want to, try our hands at implementing these things again to elevate the voice and the empowerment of our students. And again, my motto is less is more. So do you necessarily have to do every single thing? It depends on how well-rounded or what opportunities or experiences they want to be exposed to. Do we have to do all of the things at one time? Not necessarily. Some things work cohesively and organically simultaneously, and some things you're going to just work by day, step by step, year by year, to attain experience, exposure, and success. Okay, so goal setting, one of my favorite things to do. And I like to use the SMART goals mantra of methodology. So I have at the very bottom, I know it's a little hard to see, so I'll kind of spell it out a little bit for you, but the S is for specific. So when we're setting goals, we want to be very specific. Like, what exactly is it that we're trying to accomplish? The M is for measurable. Okay, how can we track this? Is there a percentage? So if I am wanting to, my goal is to make A, or at least a 90%, that's the lowest A, a 90% in my math class. Okay, specific math class is where we're trying to do it each 9 weeks. So we're able to track it at the end of each quarter, but we have to monitor in between and make sure there's no drops to do so. It's measurable. We said 90%, so easily we can click on Skyward and see what our percentile is. And most important about that percentage, click on that percentage and see what's impacting that student grade. What categories carry what weight, and where is it that they can use a little tweaking to help the bottom line number? Because sometimes I'll get parents say, my child is making an F. And it's just like, well, they must be not doing anything. And it's sometimes not that. Sometimes the tests and quizzes, the assessments may be 90% of the grade. So they might have turned in every homework assignment, but for whatever reason, it's not translating when they get on the test or quiz. By clicking on that percentile, we're able to see that. So now we're able to conference with the teacher or meet with our child to be able to rectify those matters and come up with solutions and goals. The A is for attainable. So take time to reflect. Is this really something realistically that I can accomplish in this timeline? Now that one gets hard for me because I don't like to put people in boxes or like, hey, no, you can't do that. That seems ridiculous. Like, no, to me, sky's the limit. But I definitely understand the attainable part in SMART goals is that we want to be realistic. So if it's like 2 more days in a quarter and we have a 50%, maybe we shoot to get up out of that F range, or we have a 60%, we shoot to try to get into the 70s versus saying, okay, I'm going to go from a 50 to a 90% in 2 days. If it's not enough assignments or opportunities to remediate or recover, that's not quite attainable, but we can go ahead and set that goal for the next quarter. Okay, not always impossible. I like to say, let's turn every stone. So check with the teacher. It may be opportunities after for grade recovery or something where they can go back and make a substantial change to that particular goal or grade. R is that it's relevant. So think about what is important for you, for your student, and make sure it aligns to the values and the bigger picture of the goal. And then time bound. So many times we set our goal, our short-term goal, for a bigger term goal. Okay, so that relevant is, I'm working on my grades now. I'm working on my behavioral reports from elementary to high school or through high school because I know I want to go to college or I know I want to go into the military and I have to have certain amount of grades or I can't have these types of marks on my record. So again, I love SMART goals for that reason. And then time bound. So this is the good old way to keep us accountable. I know all of us at the end of the year, oh, we're going to work out at the beginning of the year. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then somewhere along the way, we kind of get a little overwhelmed sometimes. Or we forget about those goals that we set, or maybe we made them a little too lofty and we need to come back in and rescale. Same thing with our children. So keeping time bound so that you can have check-in processes for checks and balances. So to do all of this in a fun, cohesive, organic, where it doesn't feel like I have more work to do and I already have 1,000 things to do. This room's giving us one more thing to do. I'd like to do a family vision board. So you can grab some sheets of paper and tape them together, staple them together, or go to the Dollar Tree and grab just a big poster board and create the family vision board around their educational and social goals, which is relevant for this training. You can do it with anything, saving money, travel, if you're teaching a financial literacy. But for the sake of this training, we want to focus on the educational and social goals. So I like a good goal setting by category. So let's break it down into small chunks so it's not so overwhelming and it feels a lot more manageable and bite-sized too. So classwork, write down our goals. For homework, what are going to be your goals? For assessment, attendance, behavior, involvement, and use pictures. Okay, so as you see in the top corner here, they didn't do it by category. So, and again, I want to give you autonomy. I don't ever like to put people in a box. So you can do it with just words, even with broken down into categories, or you can literally write out bullet points. But schedule time for check-ins. That is the biggest part, even as adults, is that we set these goals, but sometimes we need an accountability partner and we need to set some designated times to check in. Again, it goes back to our pick plate. To continue to be proactive, to be intentional. So if we need to make some tweaks, it's okay. Everything, life is fluid. So nothing is just going to just keep working linear. And then to be consistent. Okay. You can use things again like a planner, assignment tracker form. I'll show an example of one. I have a free one on my website you can check out. But it's an opportunity to review, reflect, realign, celebrate. Definitely celebrate. I don't care how big or small. If it's that my child went to school every day this week, had out their paper and pencil and turned in all assignments. Okay. Sometimes it may be my child went to school and they had their paper and pencil out every day. Okay, so or this week they made 100. That was their goal, to make 100% or 80% on their test, and that's what they did. Celebrated, big and small, and it doesn't have to be lofty things. It can be extra playtime. It can be us watching a Netflix movie together, eating ice cream. My daughter's almost 16, and that's still the highlight of her life. It's like she sent me the other day, Mom, I made 100 on my math quiz. I've been having some struggles, and I'm like, COVID's on me tonight. And you would have thought I said $1 million or a steak on me tonight. So find things, incorporate their voice into even the incentive plans. And again, just having those check-ins. And what if you set a check-in and we didn't meet it today because we were busy or I was just tired? It's okay. We'll set another reminder to come back to it. So we don't want to let a lot of time elapse, because then now we're dropping that proactivity. Then we're dropping the caliber and our intentional and consistent. So it's okay. Someday, every day, every week is not the same, but as often as we can be consistent, proactive, and intentional, the better results and voice and success you're going to see. So briefly, feel free to snap a shot of it, but I'll show you at the end where you can go and grab a free copy. But for those like myself that kind of type A, I like to write things out, or I have my daughter to write it out and place it on the refrigerator. I go to the refrigerator every day. It's the place all of us go. So she placed it up there, and then we set an alarm to meet once or twice a week to do our check-ins, and then to continue to set our goals, and to celebrate. So set goals and crush them. Okay. So I like to now kind of compartmentalize it in a fun, kind of theatrical way. I have a background in dance also. Is the life in the day of Mr. and Miss Success. And I'm talking about your students here. But we're part of this process as you see some of these tenets. So getting a good night's rest is important. I know sometime there and there I'm like, give me the phone so that you can rest, turn that TV off, have some shut eye, wake up early as possible. Getting that good night rest is going to be a prerequisite for getting up early. Get together and state those positive affirmations together. I am smart. Say it out loud. Scream it. I will be successful. I am amazing. Post it on their windows in their bathrooms on a sticky note when they're brushing their teeth or when you're riding in the car, and on their lunch boxes if they're hopping on a bus and maybe they leave before or after you. But just saying those things get that growth mindset into a good positive place that whatever I may encounter today, good or bad, I got this. Okay. Having a hearty breakfast and start to their day, or getting them to school early. I know sometimes we're all running out the door. Is again, having your stomach rumbling is no way that it's hard to focus. So I put some pictures down here. On a good day, normally I try to make sure my daughter, she's gotten spoiled with a hot breakfast, but some days let's go ahead and grab some cereal and some fruit, and let's just make sure again that just starting their day in a positive manner is important. I know sometimes they're going slow. I'm a parent too. I'm a human too. They're like, let's go, and everybody's screaming. But not everybody's day is going to be in a disarray, and we got to bring it down a notch. So it's like, okay, let's get in the car and let's regroup. Let's get these positive affirmations going. Wish your scholar an amazing day. I used to love it when I worked at an elementary school here, and even in middle and high school. And parents, but I hear parents say, "I love you," or grandparents, whoever's dropping off, "Have a great day," or the bus driver, they're riding a bus or Uber these days. Just whoever. That just really sets a nice tone that I got this. I have people in my corner, and then we feel good and fuzzy inside. Having that after school check-in and asking for details. So when you get in my car, whether it's my daughter, friends, kids, whoever I'm picking up, how was your day? I don't want to just hear good or bad. What was good about it? And parents, we don't even realize we're helping in the English language arts department to really express and be detailed and to cite evidence. So tell me what was good about it, even if it was one thing. And even if you're tired and you're like, oh, I really can't listen right now. But it's just going to make a world of difference and open up a line of communication with you and your student. Getting into that snack, getting that set routine for homework and study time, or if they have an activity, some of these orders may flip-flop. So notice I didn't put numbers, I just put a checklist. So whatever order in certain parts of the day that work better, then they're having their dinner, prepping for the next day, and rinse and repeat. Okay, so I like to call this the life in the day of Mr. and Miss Success, and tweak it as you need to for your child. So let's do a little reflection. Our 3 keywords of the webinar. And I like again to call this the pick play for success: proactive, intentional, and consistent. And then the question of the hour, and you don't have to type it in, or you don't have to unmute yourself to answer out loud, but what is a takeaway? Because I gave a lot of things, it was a lot, okay? But remember, bite size, day at a time, moment at a time, applicable for the time. What is a takeaway that you can implement, you and your child, and incorporating the teacher, the school? Again, everybody plays a part of it. It's not just you parents, not just the student, but also the teacher, the counselor, the admin, the support staff. What is a takeaway that you can implement in the next 24 hours to get the ball rolling on your child's path for success, or your children's path for success? Whether it's 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things, or all the things that were noted. Pick a place to start and be okay. You are doing phenomenal jobs. This is a lot, being parents and guardians. Start somewhere. Don't try to, Rome wasn't conquered in a day. So do it in bite-sized pieces. And that's going to, again, amplify the confidence, empower ourselves, empower our children, empower the school, because everybody has a responsibility in student learning. And in those people, I have a shirt that says empowered people empower people. So I hope you have enjoyed tonight's Parent Academy and all the even presenters that have come before myself, and that you're able to have takeaways in order to be able to feel empowered, to empower your children, to embody the learning process and be confident. And sometimes even when we feel like, hey, I shouldn't have to take the lead on this, take the lead on it, because ultimately we want to make sure we set our children up for success. that's all I have for tonight. Thank you for your time. Are there any questions? This is our Q&A time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. I will open up the Q&A box to see if any of our parents and or students that have joined us tonight want to reach out.
Okay.
And then can you put up your information to contact you? Awesome.
Definitely. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was definitely a lot of helpful information that you provided.
Thank you.
I know I have 3 girls myself. And so one is about to graduate and the other one is about to cross the creek because she is at PK Young going into the 6th grade. Yes. And so I know that I do a lot of these gyms already. And so now I have more things to add into my arsenal of parenting. So thank you very much.
Yes, awesome sauce. Pleasure is all mine.
Yes. So let's see if we have. I don't see anything so far.
Okay.
But no one's logged out yet. So maybe
Okay.
they are typing.
Okay.
So I see one person has their hand raised. If you want to just go to the Q&A at the bottom of your screen and go ahead and type your question in there, and then we'll be able to see it and respond to it. So the hand is still raised. And if you can't figure out how to do that, or if you can't access it, oh, there we go.
Okay.
All right. So hi, I'm a parent of to Alachua County. My son is in the 6th grade. He has a 504 plan, but the school said that they cannot give him the same accommodations he had in his previous district. So I will let you take that away because I think from your experience working in the school system.
Yes, and sometimes that's where I talked about that elevation of taking it to the next level to get some clarity, and sometimes to help come into that compromising, I hate to call it compromising, but coming into that space of this is the why, and getting some understanding because it may not be verbatim, but very similar to the accommodations that your student have. So sometimes even on the school level, things may need to just be kind of escalated to bring in some other individuals. They're at the school district, they have a whole department that deals with students with disabilities and their 504 plans or IEPs, and that may be a source. And sometimes it's just that consistent advocacy for your student. Sometimes it may take, to see the doctor, pediatrician, observation in the classroom. Now, the concrete said that, this is not an option. My question, would be why, or what is there something that is going to still be beneficial, especially if it was something very pivotal that is impacting your student learning. It's not just taking that answer because you wouldn't have put it here if you felt comfortable with it. So going ahead and taking it, escalating it to the next level, to get additional eyes and ears on the matter, because sometimes it just may be that it needs to be clarified, and they may just not know based on what you're asking or what's going on, and just like it's sometimes easier to just say, well, no, we don't do that, versus really having that clarity. And sometimes the district staff could really be a super help, in that. I'm here to help. That's a lot of the work that I do with advocacy. Look at the student pupil progression plan. I know it's a lofty, I'm not asking you to read all 100+ pages, but a lot of times that helps to help with our wording and being able to advocate, sometimes through the jargon of the educational arena. So there's a lot of places. I was just in a 504 plan last week, and I asked for a particular accommodation, and all eyes kind of went sideways, but we got it for the student. It took a little pushing, but once we were able to collectively say this is going to be impactful, really this was the reason a parent even got the process started. It was like, okay, let's see how we can implement this, even if we got to kind of do some things in an unorthodox manner. But ultimately, that's the goal of public education, is to give an inclusive, quality experience for our students. So keep pushing the envelope and see if you need to maybe take it up a notch to get some additional support and intervention.
And if you leave your contact information here for me, I know that no one else would be able to see what you put in here, or either you can email the Parent Academy. I will make sure to follow up with you and see who I can contact to get you some help in regards to the 504 plan.
Definitely.
Got it. I'm gonna write it down right now.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. This has been very helpful. You're very welcome. I'm glad you were able to join us tonight.
Definitely.
And are there any other questions? Okay, we'll give it a few more minutes to see if anybody else has any other questions before we close out for tonight.
Okay.
And they have your contact information here
Yes.
listed, so they'll be able to reach out to you. If anybody has questions for her in regards to the presentation, she is more than willing to provide you with some additional information. So please feel free to
Most
reach out
certainly.
to her.
Yes, most certainly.
All right, well, oh, there's another one.
Okay.
How do we go about getting a copy of the recorded meeting tonight? So once we're done tonight, it will be uploaded onto the Parent Academy website. So you just go to your homepage for whatever Alachua County Public Schools that your student is in. You'll click on equity. And once you click on that, our page will pull up. On the left-hand side, you'll see Parent Academy. And once you click on that, about halfway through the page in the middle, you'll see where it has the link to an actual YouTube page where all of our webinars have been uploaded to. So you'll be able to click on that and gain access to this recording. And then Ms. Patrice, is there a way for our parents or students to get a copy of your presentation?
Yes, they can feel free to reach out to my website. It'll have my phone number and email there. It's pcvirtualtutoring@gmail.com. And I definitely don't mind them reaching out, and I'll share it from there. So
Awesome.
my website, you can reach me in a multitude of ways on all of my social. That's kind of the hub for my social media, for a phone number, for email, to be able to be reaching those capacities for any information for the presentations.
Okay. Okay, awesome sauce. Thanks again. You're
Yes.
very welcome.
Most certainly. Pleasure is all ours.
Okay, so we will go ahead and close out for this evening. So I'd just like to thank everyone again for joining us on tonight's Zoom. We appreciate your participation, and each week you're available to connect with us for more informative presentations and discussions. Once again, I am Tina Foston Hayes, the Parent Academy Specialist for Education, Equity, and Outreach for the Alachua County Public School Systems. So next week, we will, on Thursday, February 16th, we'll actually be joined by TRIO. TRIO is a program that is offered through Santa Fe. And it's going to, she's going to share some information about continuing education and signing up if that is where your heart desires and you want to go back to school. They have great opportunities for our adults. So please join us and just have a wonderful night. Please feel free to reach out to myself or Ms. Patrice if you have any additional questions. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
You're welcome.